We're going to gather together some materials for this project, and I sent you links on Canvas in the assignment for all the different materials that we're going to use. But I want to start by talking about that we're going to make cubes. We're going to make 12 cubes, and we're going to make 12 rods. And this is a disintegrated version of a student project. But you can see that there's a number of rods here, and there's a couple cubes left. We're going to make 12. These are 1 inch by 1 inch. And these rods are 3 inches by 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. So I'll start by talking about the museum board, and that looks like this. And museum board's pretty cool. It's 100% cotton, and it's white all the way through. So it's called museum board because they use it for matting museum work. And sometimes you'll see it referred to as Bristol board or Strathmore board. And it's white. I'm looking for white, not off-white, not black, but white. And this one should be 2-ply. And if you look carefully, you can kind of see the plies are sort of splitting from each other. 2-ply is thick enough to work with and be stiff, but so easy to cut that it makes it easier to build models. And you can see in our example, even though this is kind of worn out, that when you use the museum board, your edges, even if they're dirty, are still white. So whereas when we used the foam core, though, we had paper, and then we had foam, and then more paper. So in this case, the edges are white, and that helps you to make a beautiful, very beautiful model. This is a material that people use all over for model building. So you can link to it on our Canvas site, and I just wanted to show you the piece that I had. So, and remember when we made the larger cube out of foam core, we needed a recipe to cut our material out of to make a 1 inch square cube. So you need to measure the thickness of the material. And when I measured this material, it turned out to be about 1/32 of an inch thick. So I had to remove 1/32 from each side depending on which piece I was using. So I have 2 pieces that are 1 by 1, 2 pieces that are 1 by 15/16. So I've cut a 32nd off of each side. And I have 2 pieces that are square, another square, 15/16 and 15/16, because 1/32 is cut off of both sides of each piece. So you'll see I have a couple pencil marks here. You want to erase those before you start to put your model together. It's really important that you use a pencil that has a very hard lead so you're not smearing it, and you want to wash your hands before you start to cut this material. It does clean up nicely with an eraser, but it's no fun having a mess caused by your dirty hands. So wash your hands all the time. When you are measuring your cubes, make sure you use little dots like this and like that to set your measurement. So don't use a pencil line, don't draw the line of the cube, just make little dots. Then you can set up your ruler right up against that, just like that, and then you can cut using that, using the guidelines. Putting pencil lines on your board is going to make it pretty dirty. You'll want to use a brand new blade for cutting the museum board. That way you get a nice, neat cut, and use as many blades as you need. Don't hesitate to get rid of blades and add new ones as you go along. The other material we're going to be using is basswood, and this is a 3-inch piece of basswood that I cut, and it's 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch wide. So it comes in a big long strip that is about probably 24 inches. So you may need 2, and got to do the math to figure out how many 3-inch pieces you can cut out of a 24-inch piece. And you'll find that you're going to need probably at least 2 sticks. And so this is basswood. Basswood is different than balsa wood, and unless you're ordering it online, when you go to the store, ask them to take you to the location where the basswood is located and the balsa wood. This is not balsa wood, and students make this mistake. It happens frequently enough that I'm bringing it up. Balsa wood is too soft to make models out of, so we use basswood. And you can see if I stick my finger, I can maybe stick my fingernail into it and make a little mark. If this were balsa, that mark would be completely smushed and the corners would be smushed, and it's very difficult to cut. So even though you've heard about people building models out of balsa, that's great for paper airplanes. We don't use it for this class. So this is basswood. You'll need this is where we get to use our miter saw and our miter box. So those are important for what we're working on. You'll want some Elmer's glue all. You'll need an old paintbrush, one that you don't really care about. And then I've poured into my little dish here some white acrylic paint is over here. And over here is matte medium gesso. And I put links to both of those on Canvas, so you'll be able to see exactly what I'm using. And then the other thing that you'll need is sandpaper. And we're going to use the sandpaper to sand our wood. And in fact, we'll even sand the wood before we start because we don't really want this grid on there. We always want to take that off. So those are the materials that we'll be using for this particular project. See the next video for the how-to.